So I've just pulled this chicken out of the oven. It's been cooking for an hour and 15 minutes at 425. I'm going to remove the chicken from this cast iron skillet, or they call it, I think they actually call it a chicken fryer. But I'm going to go ahead and remove it here and let everything drain out. And so you can see that there's fat in there, and there's kind of liquid as well. And then you have like pieces of skin. Now all of that's going to end up caramelizing and making your gravy really rich, so you don't want to get rid of it. But my first step is I want to boil off the drippings. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on medium-high heat. And you got to be smart about it, but if you're going to use a cast iron skillet, you just brought it out of a 425 oven, you'll want to make sure you have something covering the handle. And then if you're going to boil off your drippings, you want to make sure that you are continually stirring it. And I prefer a spoon with this beveled edge to get inside of the corners. And, we'll do this for, I don't know, maybe about 5 minutes. And then we'll take our fat that's had the drippings boiled off and turn that into a roux and eventually a gravy. So it's been about 2 minutes, and I boiled off these drippings here, and you can see that the solids have turned a bit gummy. And it was mostly on high heat, but I've turned it down to low so that those solids don't burn. I've also microwaved about 2.5 cups of chicken stock, like boxed chicken stock. And I'm just taking a heaping soup spoon of flour. Recommend always using organic flour when you're making foods at home. The agriculture industry uses glyphosate, which is a pesticide, to dry out wheat berries on non-organic wheat. So you're getting extra pesticide in your wheat. Might be contributing to some people's stomach issues and digestion issues when it comes to wheat. So I always recommend using organic wheat because I don't think that they use the same amount of glyphosate or pesticide on organic wheat. So I've done about 2 heaping soup spoon sizes. I don't really know what that is in measurement, because I usually just kind of feel out how much I need to make the gravy. So this is a good consistency. I'm going to be scraping the bottom here so that these solids here, once you kind of add flour to the equation, they get even more gummy and even more sticky. So you want to continually stir until you've cooked off the flour smell. And it'll start to smell nutty once the flour has been cooked off. I have it on low heat. This is a gas stove on about 2. I can still smell the flour, so we need just a couple more minutes. I think it takes about 2 minutes for it to cook off, but I go by scent, not so much. I don't go by time, I go by scent. All right, now I'm going to add this hot chicken stock, just a little bit at a time, about maybe half a cup. And you can see it kind of puffs up a bit when you add liquid and gets gummy. You'll see some of the stuff sticks to the bottom of the pan, but don't worry, this is all normal. I'm going to turn up the heat here so that we can keep it bubbling, keep it cooking. That's one of the reasons you want to use hot liquid when you quench your roux, when you quench the fat and flour mixture. You want to use hot liquid because if you use cold liquid, it will stop the cooking and it won't bind properly, and you know, it'll be a lot more difficult to get it to that nice creamy texture that we like. Also, you can add spices to your roux, like pepper and cayenne, if that's where you would like to have some heat in your gravy. But it's your stock where you would add salt and other kind of, I would say, herbal flavors. Like if you wanted to use sage or basil, you would have flavored your stock with that. And you want your stock to have essentially the flavor that you want your gravy to end up having. You don't want to use just hot water or plain water. You want it to you want some flavor in your stock. So this is a really thick gravy. This would be the texture that I would probably keep it at for myself. I like it really thick, but I'm making this for my husband who likes very thin gravy. The good news is that even if you make it very thin, your gravy is very thin, they do tend to thicken up after you refrigerate them or let them rest for a bit. So you can make thin gravy and eat it immediately. And then as it rests and cools, you can add more hot liquid to it and basically expand the amount of gravy that you have. So I ran out of chicken stock, but we're not quite at the consistency that my husband likes. So I'm going to go ahead and microwave some more and catch up with you in a bit. So I turned this down to low while the stock was warming up. Now I'm going to take that hot stock that I just microwaved and continue adding this until we get it a pretty thin consistency. Also, my baby just woke up, so you might hear her in the background. All right. So I used about, this is the consistency that my husband likes. And I used about 24 ounces of chicken stock to get here. And this will thicken up quite a bit in the refrigerator. So you can always start with this and add more liquid later, or you can start with it thicker. And then just hot tip, so this chicken, I'm going to debone it and remove the skin and the bones, and then pressure cook the skin and the bones for 45 minutes. And that will get a lot of collagen and minerals out of the skin and cartilage and bones. And then those bones get really soft. If you have animals, if you have dogs, for example, you can blend them in a blender with just like a little bit of stock, and it's a great healthy treat for your animals. And they're even so soft that you could just, bite off a piece of the bone yourself if you're kind of craving some iron and very basic nutrients. So just something to keep in mind for future stocks.